Good evening, night owls. Welcome back to another episode of Adults After Dark, where the world quiets down and the grown conversations turn up. This is where we strip away the filters, leave the pretense at the door, and talk about the things that keep us up long after the lights go out. I am your host, Mimi, and tonight we are getting into something real, something a lot of folks struggle with, whether they admit it or not. But think about it, a lot of our conversations, a lot of people struggle with, but don't say anything. And so here we talk about it with no problem. So our conversation tonight is patterns versus potential. It's the tug of war between what a person shows you and what you hope they'll become. You know, that space between the reality of who they are and the fantasy that keeps building in your head. We've all done it. I know I've done it. I've done it actually in a couple of relationships, and one is actually in my marriage now. My spouse, when we got together years ago, I saw a lot of red flags, and I kept ignoring those red flags, and I knew better, but I was having hope. I kept holding out hope. Also, in a previous relationship I've mentioned on this show before, the patterns were there. The red flags were there. When you see those patterns, that's who the person really is. And not just in your relationship, but in your friendships, your work life. You begin to see people who they really are. That's just like when, we all say a person that's drunk tells the truth, or how does that subliminal go? What is it? They tell you the truth. They say what they've been meaning to say all along. That's how they felt all along. But once they start drinking or got drunk, then everything came to light. It's how they've been feeling all along. So yeah, like I said, we've all done it. We stayed too long. We've excused so much and told ourselves, they just need time, or they've been through a lot. But the truth is, think about it. Okay, patterns do not lie. I have a friend was in the same predicament that I was in. Her boyfriend showed her patterns, and they was together for a very long time. They end up getting married, having a child together, but those patterns were still there. He never swayed away from who he was. Okay. I might talk about that as well if we have time, but I'll get into my situation a little later. But yeah, patterns do not lie. Okay. They tell you the truth long before we actually are ready to hear it, or we're so infatuated with being with someone or lusting for someone that we don't see it. That's just like a person that's being physically abused. They blame themselves. And it's a pattern. If you blink one too many times and that person told you better blink 3 times and not 4, or I'm gonna knock the hell out of you, and then when you blink that 4th time, they knock the hell out of you. So it's the patterns. The patterns don't go away. I think the patterns actually get worse. And it takes for us to like get tired, or we're been abused and hurt so many times, and we just finally say, you know what, enough is enough. So like I say, I'm not gonna hold all the truths to myself tonight. I am going to tell you my story, because y'all know we are here together. We're here to help each other with no judgment. Okay. So it may be someone here listening tonight that's going through it, or maybe they know someone that's going through it. They can probably help someone or guide them to these conversations, and you never know. You never know who you're helping. So getting back into it, sitting next to me is Carla. Carla is back tonight to co-host with me on Adults After Dark. I'm trying to see if we will have her on permanently or not, or maybe just every couple of episodes or something. We'll see how that goes. And I know that Carla has been through some things as well, as far as patterns and patterns versus potential. Now if she decides to talk about it, then we're gonna let her talk about it. If not, then we'll discuss it at a later time. So welcome, Carla. How are you doing this evening, girl? Hey, Mimi girl, thanks for having me on again tonight. And yes, I would like to be a part of Adults After Dark, so we'll discuss it after the show. We'll get our people together, and then we'll see what we can work out. So tonight we're talking about patterns versus potential, And yes, I do have a story. If we have time, I will discuss it. I know our last episode was pretty lengthy. We didn't try to make it as lengthy as it was, but I know that there was a lot of useful information there. So hopefully we can get this all done in the allotted time, girl. But anyway, yes, so patterns versus potential. So girl, you already know, when we talk, we don't just talk, we don't just chat, honey, we go deep. And this one right here, it hits home, because so many people fall in love with potential and end up living in a loop of disappointment. We see someone's charm, their pain, maybe even the good moments, and then we see the bad moments. And then when the bad moments come, they're not just bad, they're like horrendous, like it's bad. So we've come to convince ourselves that the future version of our person will make it all worth it, right? But then we also forget that potential doesn't pay emotional rent. Okay, it doesn't keep promises. It's just a possibility, and possibilities can fade, and there's no effort to make them become real, right? And so if you look at patterns, Mimi, those patterns are receipts. Okay, those patterns are receipts. They don't lie. Okay, even when our hearts want them to, a person can talk to you about growth all day long, but if their actions don't match, you're not in a relationship. You're in a waiting room, just waiting on the potential to take over those patterns. Okay, so remember that patterns are receipts. They do not lie. Carla, you are 100% correct, because too many people out here are waiting for someone to turn into who they could be instead of dealing with who they are. So let me tell you about me, right? So I've mentioned before that I met my spouse 21 years ago. We've met 21 years ago, and we've been married for 13 years. This year made 13 years. Now, let me tell you where the patterns came in. He came to my apartment one day, and we were talking. He was like, I want you to meet my family. We're going to have a barbecue and all this other kind of stuff. Okay, yeah, cool. You can meet my friends. I can meet your friends and your family and, so on. So we put together this big barbecue at my apartment, right? And he got drunk. My spouse got drunk. Of course, he wasn't my spouse at the time, but he got drunk, and him and his brothers started to argue, and almost to the point where they were throwing fists at each other, right? So one of his brothers was like, man, I'm so sick of this. You do this every time you start drinking. So that right there was a pattern. So every time he started drinking, he would act crazy. And it wasn't even the point of drinking, it was what he was drinking. And so I noticed over the years that when he drank this certain alcohol, he gets the way that he got that night. But if he drinks something lighter, he doesn't get that way, right? So back to the story. So that was a pattern right there. His brother was like, you get this way every time you drinking and all this other kind of stuff, right? So that was one incident. There was another incident where one of my girlfriends called me, and she wanted to go hang out. So I'm like, yeah, cool. So he and I, we had talked earlier, and I had told her, me and my girl, we going out, and blah blah blah, yada yada, this, right? So he wanted to go, and I was like, well, okay. So I called my girl. And so she like, okay, cool. So, she came by and picked me up. Then we swung by and picked him up from where he was. And we went to the place, paid to get in. We was literally in this place for about 5 minutes because he was already out at a club. We picked him up from a club where near where he lived, right? And so he had been drinking. And so when we pick him up, we go to the club that me and my girlfriend was initially gonna go to, and he wasn't feeling it. He got agitated, and so it kind of pissed my friend off, right? So we like, forget it, we just gonna leave. So we left. We stopped at a gas station, and she wanted to fill up her tank. He jumps out the car, go across the street, and wait on the bus. Now he lit because he wanted to go back to this other place so bad, right? But he lit off of this one particular drink that he always drank. And then he gets mad at me because I didn't jump out the car with him and go with him. I stayed with the person that I was with, right? So that's incident number 2. There was another incident where he didn't have, I think they had cut his lights off. They cut his lights off. So my child, my mom, and my child's boyfriend, and a friend that I was kind of seeing at the time. Now we had went on a trip. Now my guy at the time, he knew about it because this trip was planned before we had even met. So he did know about it. So couldn't find out. So before we went on the trip, I gave him the keys to my apartment so he can, keep an eye on the apartment for me, right? And so we on our trip, and he calls me and he said, "Hey, my lights is out." First of all, why are your lights out? Okay, these are these patterns that I'm seeing. Why are your lights out? You work every day. Why are your lights out? Anyway, so he's at my apartment. When I get to now, before I left, I cleaned my house from top to bottom, spick and span. I got home a week later. My apartment was in shambles. Do you hear me? I was so upset. Like, dude, you're in my apartment. Why would you make my apartment look like this? And I should have known, because his apartment, stuff everywhere. I mean, everywhere. That's another pattern. And it's still like that till this day. I would clean, and he would come in and throw stuff on the table. His shoes on the middle of the floor. His jacket on the dining room chair. He's just take his pants off. I mean, it's just a whole thing. And all of these are patterns. So it's like so much. These patterns and red flags, and I seen all of this, and I knew better. I knew to take my ass on about my business, but I didn't. I'm still here 21 years later, and when I tell you nothing has changed, there was no potential. Everything that he did 21 years ago, he is still doing it today. Okay. Girl, when I tell you, when I come home sometimes, I'm just like, oh my God, are you kidding me? And I get so tired of fussing and so now it's like, he'll leave his shoes or jacket or something in a dining room. Look, you have your own space. You have your own little space. That's not a common area. This is your space. Throw your stuff in there. So like when he leave a bunch of stuff on the table, I'll leave it there for a day or two. I'm like, okay, he gonna get it. He gonna move it. When he don't move it, I take all that crap and I throw that shit in his room. And if you can't find it, then that's on you. His clothes, his shoes, his papers, everything. Because I feel like there's a place for everything, and everything has its place. Okay, so even if you leave your shoes in the dining room, don't leave them in the middle of the floor. Put them to the side. Don't nobody want to walk in here and kick your stuff all over the place. But then again, why are you leaving the stuff in the common area when you got the bedroom? You got your space to put the stuff in. And like I said, nothing has changed. And that's a pattern. And I saw it. I seen it years ago, and my dumb ass stayed. Y'all, pay attention to the patterns, because the patterns are real. Y'all, the patterns do not lie. The patterns are receipts. They do not lie. I don't know if I was expecting anything, potential, but when I tell you those patterns were there, those red flags were there, and they're still there 21 years later. So again, y'all, pay attention to the little things. Those little things end up to big things. Pay attention, because when you first get into a relationship, they're gonna do stuff to make you want to be with them. You know what I'm saying? They're going to do things, they're going to say things, but when you all get comfortable in a relationship, things are going to change. So pay attention from day one until however long you all be together, because my thing is this: the way that you got a person is the way that you have to keep them. So if you were whining and dining, and you all are still doing the whining and dining years later, that's a pattern. That's what they do. That's a good receipt. Okay. But if they started off whining and dining, and then a few months later, then they just don't want to do anything. They just want to sit around and drink beer or drink alcohol and get fat. And I mean, it was a lie. Okay, that was a lie. They just did what they did to get you. So pay attention to the patterns, y'all. Those are receipts. Those are major receipts. Now there were some other patterns, but y'all, if I tell you everything that I can tell you, this episode will be about 3 days long, and we're not trying to do that. But yeah, so Carla, girl, what do you think about that? Girl, I am so surprised that you actually stayed in this for 21 years. Girl, what the heck were you thinking? Oh my God. Now, I've been through some stuff too, but I'm not going to talk about that right now. We're going to do that on another episode, okay? So, but just think about this. Now you are in this relationship with this guy 20 plus years. His patterns has not changed, but now I'm wondering what made you actually stay in it that long. Like, because now you're cleaning up after him. It's not helping your relationship at all, because now every time you go into a room and see his stuff all over the place, you just getting mad and frustrated. So, but what does he say, or have you brought it to his attention to make him clean up after himself? I mean, the potential to even clean up after himself. What happened with that? So let me say this. I told him on many occasions to, the dining room is not your space for you to just throw your things at. You have a space to put your stuff in. The dining room is the common area. So if somebody came over to the house to visit right now, you got your pants hanging across the chair, your shoes in the middle of the floor, your shirt over here, your jacket over there. And I think what happens is, because he knows it aggravates me, he would just leave it, and he knows that I'm going to eventually move it. But the thing is, when I move it, I just throw it, like literally throw it in his room, and I don't care. So he would look at me like, well, have you seen so and so? Not to look at him like, nope, I haven't seen it. When I knew all along, I've seen it. It's in that room somewhere. So can you imagine what his room looks like? It's a mess. And I don't go in that room if I don't have to get something out of that room. I don't go in there. That's it. It is what it is. I just don't. So you asked why I stayed in the salon. Honestly, Carla, I can say that I loved him. I don't know. I don't know. I loved him, and I was hoping that when we got into our home together, that things would change. That's the potential part that I was really, really hoping for. And like I say, it hasn't happened. So, yeah, it is what it is, Girl, I understand. So that's the truth. And by the time you realize what's been going on, you're drained, physically drained, emotionally drained, and you start to lose yourself in the process of trying to help somebody else, find their potential. And from what I'm hearing, there's no potential there. That potential is like gone now. So yeah. But anyway, that's why, this conversation matters, Mimi. So tonight we're pulling the covers over what it really looks like when patterns repeat and potential deceives. And from what you're telling me, and then you have more stories that you're not sharing, your potential deceived you quite a bit, because baby, we've been there. And if we can save somebody a few heartbreaks and a few headaches just by being honest, y'all pay attention. Please pay attention. Girl, yeah, I think we've all played Captain Save a Potential at least once, but in my case, it was more than once. You know, you tell yourself they're growing. You just have to be patient. But what's really happening is you're carrying the weight of two people. Okay, doing the emotional work for both of you, and after a while, you realize you've been holding on to what you wish the relationship could be instead of accepting what it's already become. And I think that's what I did, was just accept it, because I've been in it 21 years and nothing has changed. And I know a lot of people say you can't change anyone. The person would have to want to change. So I guess he didn't want to change, because it's still 21 years, and I guess I've just accepted it, even though it aggravates me when I have to, quote unquote, clean up after a grown ass man. You know what I'm saying? So you start to see those patterns, the avoidance, the defensiveness, and the lack of follow through, and you recognize this isn't new. And I knew that a long time ago, that this is what it was, and he did not change. This is who he is, and I learned it early on, but I was hoping, you know. So you can't keep saying they just need time, and he's had time. He's had 21 years. Exactly, Mimi, you hit the nail on the head. So patterns, y'all, patterns are proof. Okay, you don't have to be a psychic to see them. You just have to stop making excuses for them. So when someone is showing you the real them, believe it. When they promise to change but they never deliver, they probably was never going to change in the first place. So when communication feels like walking through a minefield, that's not miscommunication, that's repetitious. Okay, I'm going to be honest, Mimi, sometimes it's not them, sometimes it's actually us. Okay, so we attract what's familiar. We grow up watching people argue. They avoid confrontation or conversations. They shut down or they withdraw, and then end up in a relationship that echo the same rhythm. It's not comfortable, but it's known, and it's known to feel safer than to start fresh. You know, that's how the cycle repeats itself, and that's where we start making the mistakes of being dysfunction and lack of connection. You know, that's real, because when we're used to chaos, peace feels suspicious, right? You start looking for something to fix, because fixing gives you purpose, but healing means sitting still, and that's harder for some of us. It's harder than pain. You know what I'm saying? That's why recognizing your own patterns and patterns of other people. Now, you may say you have patterns too, but you have changed your patterns, or your spouse may say, hey, we've been together 21 years and you're still doing this. So that's a pattern for you. It's not just calling out, you know, what your partner does. It's about seeing what you keep allowing and what your partner keeps allowing. So if you're not trying to fix it, your partner's not trying to fix it, then what's the purpose of complaining? You know what I'm saying? You can't heal what you won't name, and you can't find the potential in someone else if you're ignoring your own potential. So, Carla, if I didn't know no better, I really think that you were talking about me, but it's okay. It's okay. I know I have patterns too. I know that, but I also fulfilled my potential as a wife. Okay, girl. Anyway, so yeah, when you stop trying to grow someone and start growing yourself, because the truth is a relationship can only meet you at the level of your own healing, right? If you keep settling for potential, it's usually because you don't believe you deserve consistency. Okay. But when you start working on you and stop confusing attraction with alignment, you stop chasing what you could be and start choosing what is. And you realize you don't have to prove your worth by fixing someone. Your peace is the prize. So trying to get the potential out of somebody, they actually may have the potential, but they may just be like, you know what, whatever. You know that saying that someone's only going to do what you allow them to do to you. Same thing. So I'm allowing him, sort of speak, to continue to put the clothes in the dining room or the living room or whatever, and the shoes in the middle of the floor. And instead of me putting my foot down and say, hey, go pick this up, and continue to pressure him and be on him, hey, go pick this up, then what am I complaining for? Because after a few days, I get tired of looking at it, and I'm going to go throw it in his room. And I think he knows that. But yeah, I love that your peace is the prize, because once you get a taste of peace, you can't go back to it, you know. And I'll say this to our listeners. If you're in a relationship right now and you're wondering if it's potential or pattern, pay attention to how you feel most of the time. Not the moments of passions or apologies, but like the everyday energy, the everyday conversation. Look at everything that's going on from the person that you're in a relationship with. If you feel anxious or unseen or constantly hoping for change, that's a pattern. Okay, if you feel safe and respected, and if you feel supported, then the potential is being realized. You know, you should love keeping you should love keeping you guessing. It should bring the calm, you know what I'm saying, not the confusion. If I'm making any sense, that's what it should bring. You know, I think about how many people actually stay because of potential. You know, they may say things like, we've been through so much, or they just need time, but years go by and nothing changes, just like in your case with the 21 years. The truth is, time doesn't change people. Intentional effort does. Okay. And when someone keeps choosing comfort over growth, that's your answer. So love them if you want to, but love yourself enough to stop waiting. You are exactly right, Carla. But you know what? I would swear this whole conversation has been about me. It's like, I feel like you have been on me, girl. I mean, I thought we were cool, but you know, it's okay. I can take it. I can take it. It's okay. But look, so waiting for someone to grow up emotionally is like waiting for a storm to turn into sunshine. It's not impossible, but you might drown before that happens. And I say this with love. Don't confuse loyalty with self-neglect. sometimes you're not being loyal. You're just afraid of starting over. But starting over, it isn't failure. It's freedom. Think of it as freedom. And when you do start over, you start choosing differently. You're gonna say things to yourself like, when you get in this new relationship, I'm not gonna accept this time. I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna do that. And when that happens, girl, stand 10 toes down. You start noticing patterns early, so you gonna stop ignoring the red flags because they don't match your fantasy. They don't match your energy. So you pay attention to consistency instead of chemistry now. Okay, so because real love is steady, it doesn't make you question your sanity or your worth. And when both people are doing the work, then that's when potential becomes real power. Okay, you can see the potential just flourishing. Okay, that's when love starts to build, not to just burn. It's actually being built. Yeah, let's talk about that for a minute. So because growth in a relationship, it isn't magic. It's work, and it's a lot of work. You have to work at the whole relationship. If you've been together for 50 years, it's still gonna be work. So it's being honest when you'd rather shut down. It's holding space when your partner is struggling. It's saying, I hear you, and even when you don't agree, it's being willing to look at your own reflection and admit, I've got some things I need to change as well. Okay, that's when the potential turns into a partnership, and that's what grown love looks like. It's not perfection, but participation. So you both show up even when it's uncomfortable, and you both take responsibility instead of pointing fingers. So that's how you rewrite the patterns. Okay, you rewrite them together, not through promises but through practice. So both of you have to be on the same page in order to get the potential to come out of each of you. Okay, so you have to work together to do that. So night owls, here's a question: are you loving someone's reality, or are you trapped in their potential? Because at the end of the day, again, patterns do not lie. Tell the story of how love actually lives between two people, and if that story keeps reading the same chapter after chapter, maybe it's time for you to close the book and start a new one. Okay, girl, Carla, I felt that. Yeah, that one was a little personal. We lived it, we learned, and well, some of us learned, because I'm still in it, but I kind of gave up on the potential. And it takes courage to stop chasing potential and start honoring the truth. And I think that's what I've done, is start honoring the truth, and just gave up on the potential. Because after 21 years, if it's not there, it's not going to be there. So to anyone listening tonight, pay attention to what repeats. Okay, don't let hope talk you out of what you already see. And remember, love is not a project, it's a partnership. Okay, remember that, a partnership. So I think we have kept you long enough, night owls. Carla, I want to thank you again for joining us this evening. And we're going to get together and we're going to talk about what we discussed earlier. Okay, so all right, night owls, it's our time for tonight. Thank you for letting us in, for listening with open hearts, and always showing up for these late night grown conversations. Carla, girl, you got any last words? Yes, Mimi, I just want to say this again, guys. Patterns are proof, okay? Those are the receipts, okay? Pay attention to what your significant other is doing, okay? Because again, those are the receipts. And if they continue to do it, then it's a pattern. If they are trying to change, then that's the potential, okay? So guys, this is Carla. Thanks, Mimi, for having me, and I will see you guys next time on Adults After Dark. Okay, guys, so we'll see you next time right here on Adults After Dark, where the talk stays real, the night stays soft, and the truth always finds the light. Good night, loves. Take care of your peace, and don't let potential make you forget your worth.